Hi guys, Olive here, coming to you today from obviously a much different location than normal. There are no books in the background. I am currently in a hotel room because, as you may have heard, I am currently traveling for work. For privacy reasons, I won't be saying where I'm going or what exactly I'm doing, besides that I'm training on some new things, just in a different location. I promise you it's nothing glamorous. I'm not trying to keep it from you for those reasons. I do just have to be worried about my own safety. And I promise you it is really not interesting. But I'm not doing a video just to tell you that. I'm doing a video because I want to talk a little bit about what this experience has been like for me so far and the ways in which it has been affecting my reading, which is definitely different than I had anticipated. This is not my first week here. This is actually my third week here. I did 1 week, then went back to Pittsburgh for a week, and now I am currently on a 2-week stint. And in between those 2 weeks, I made a very quick, rather spontaneous trip over to Philadelphia to go see a really good friend of mine. I've been away from home for quite a while now, so I'm really looking forward to getting back to Pittsburgh. It's not that I don't like it here. I really like what I'm doing. I like the people I'm working with. I like the area. It's just, that's a long time to be away from home, especially after we just moved. During my first week here, I did barely any reading. I brought a whole backpack worth of books and read basically none of them because most of my time is spent during the day learning new things, taking notes, being fully engaged at work instead of going on autopilot, which I'm definitely able to do in my other position back in Pittsburgh. Also, during my first week, I was just kind of trying to figure out how all of this works. I've never traveled for work before. I've never been even moderately important in any job I've ever had. So now to be sent by my company to an entirely different location and have a daily allowance of money to spend on food and things, it's really weird for me. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying it's been taking some getting used to. And I'm also trying to get to know this area a little more. I'm learning all new things at work, so I'm fully engaged the whole time. I can't even just be listening to an audiobook. So I'm using a lot more brain space being here than being back in Pittsburgh. So I'm definitely more tired when I'm done with work, and then I have to worry about what to do about dinner. It's not even that I can outsource that job to my husband and ask him to make tacos for the night. And if I decide to go out to a restaurant, it means that I'm going to be there for about an hour or even an hour and a half. And the whole time I'm probably on the phone with my husband. We talk about an hour every night. So this isn't exactly the home away from home, I'm going to get so much reading done because I don't have my typical worries back home type of environment that I originally thought it was going to be. But since this is my third week here and not my first week here, I definitely have noticed that I'm getting more comfortable with the work that I'm doing to the point where I can have an audiobook playing in my ears for at least a portion of the day. I'm doing a good portion of my work independently now, which allows me to be able to do that. I've also noticed that I really like to listen to audiobooks while I'm getting ready for work in the morning. Oftentimes back in Pittsburgh, that's the time I use for booktube watching, so I'm definitely behind on watching booktube videos. But I have been listening to audiobooks during the very long drive that I have to take to get here. The only thing is, though, I can't listen to books on CD. Like, I can't go and get one from the library and use it in my car, because I've tried to do that once before. My car's a little bit on the older side. I tend to get cars that are a little bit older. I don't know why. I have a thing for cars that are charmingly bad. Not like dangerously bad ones where you don't trust it, it's gonna crash, but ones that have quirks. I once had a car that the radio only played in the summertime because it was too cold and the radio wouldn't work. One time in the winter, that exact same car's door was frozen on the latching mechanism, so I had to drive to work holding the door closed. That was my old car. Now in my new car, I'm having a whole other different set of problems. This one will, after many attempts to put a CD in, finally accept the CD and play the CD, but then won't eject it. It got so bad the last time I got out a book on CD from the library that I was considering getting a pair of pliers to pull this thing out of the CD player in my car, but it must have known that I was about to resort to that because then it finally ejected the CD. I told you all of these lovely stories in order to say that listening to a book on CD from the library is not possible. So I have to resort to listening to an audiobook on my phone. I probably could just use my Bluetooth headphones like I do at work, but those do have a limited battery life. I also have some safety concerns about that. I suppose if I just put it in one ear, it wouldn't be a big deal. But instead of doing that, I've been putting my phone on speaker and turning it up as loud as it will go when I'm listening to an audiobook on it. And if you've ever driven on the highway, you know that it is a very noisy place. There are tons of other cars. There are those 18-wheelers or tractor trailers or whatever the hell you choose to call them. The volume of my audiobook cannot compete with that. So I need to get my phone as close to my ear as possible, which lately has just involved sticking it in my shirt or my jacket like a shitty Secret Service agent trying to hear this freaking audiobook. And while I haven't been reading as many physical books back here in my room as I originally thought I was going to, I have been reading them quite a bit during my lunch hour. The office that I'm working at is really, really nice. I'm actually getting really spoiled by it because normally I'll bring in a lunch. I'm able to eat outside because the weather has been good. And then I'm able to go to one of the many choices of benches around the building and enjoy some green space and quiet while I'm reading. I'm hoping that as I get more used to this area and as I get more used to the work that I'm doing, that my reading will improve while I'm here. I was budgeted for a whole lot more time than I think I'm going to need here. So as I'm probably about halfway through, I definitely feel as though I've learned some lessons about what works and doesn't work for me. So those are really all the updates that I had when it comes to the reading that I'm doing here during my travels. I hope there will be more updates in the future, but I do have a little bit of an added bonus in this video because when I was in Philadelphia this past weekend, I was surprised by my best friend with a trip to the used bookstore in downtown Philadelphia. My friend knows how big of a book nerd I am and knew how much it would absolutely delight me to just walk in front of a bookstore and say, "You have an hour, let's go buy stuff." I did show some self-restraint at the bookstore. I only bought 4 things, even though my best friend had a huge pile. She bought twice as many books as me. But I thought I would show you those 4 books since we're here. The first book that I bought is Behold the Dreamers by Mbolo Mbue. I was interested in reading this book even before it was the Oprah Book Club pick, not that that influences my desire to read this one way or another. This is about an immigrant family living in New York City during the time of the financial crisis. The husband/father starts working as a chauffeur for a man who works at Lehman Brothers, but then the financial crisis happens and everyone's lives are upturned. Given that I work in finance and that I'm always interested to read a story told from the immigrant perspective, I've always been interested to pick this one up. I think this would be a good one to pick up alongside one of the remaining books from my young professional TBR. I also bought The Fires of Vesuvius, Pompeii, Lost and Found by Mary Beard. I have heard a lot of people say really wonderful things about Mary Beard's books, and this book talks about everything that is known about ancient Pompeii, not just the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. I've always been really, really interested in Pompeii. When my mom was younger, she did get to do a little bit of travel around Europe and got to go visit Pompeii. So she's been telling me all about it since I was young. And I've always been interested to learn more about it, not just this one thing in history that we all know so much about, the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. This next book that I picked up is a big chunker of a novel called Forever Amber by Kathleen Winsor. Abandoned, pregnant, and penniless on the teeming streets of London, 16-year-old Amber St. Clair uses her wits, beauty, and courage to climb to the highest position a woman could achieve in Restoration England, that of favorite mistress of the merry monarch Charles II. From whores and highwaymen to courtiers and noblemen, from the Great Plague and the fire of London to the intimate passions of ordinary and extraordinary men and women, Amber experiences it all. But throughout her trials and escapades, she remains in her heart true to the one man she really loves, the one man she can never have. The sounds of this reminded me so much of The Crimson Petal and the White, and even though I've not read that book yet, I have a very strong suspicion I'm going to love it. And with a used bookstore price, how could I resist? And this last book that I picked up at the used bookstore piqued my interest and I just couldn't help but pick it up. It's called The Extinction Club by Robert Twigger. This is a nonfiction book about a very rare species of deer that was almost driven to extinction, but due to fascination with the animal and demand from Europe, it was saved from extinction, but then died out everywhere else except one tiny county in England. And then from that very small county in England where a small population of these deer were thriving, a small herd of them were sent back to China, which was their native land, in order to reinstate them in that habitat. They have still remained a very rare species on the brink of extinction still, and this book tells their story. This book is really short as well. It seems like it would be a really good, quick read during Nonfiction November, maybe. So those are all the things that I had to share with you during my somewhat lonely work travels. I don't know if this is going to be my only video that I do while I am actively traveling, but hopefully by the time you see me next, I will be back in Pittsburgh. You will see my books behind me once again. Please let me know down in the comment section down below if you have any tips or tricks about how to get more reading done while you're traveling. I could certainly use those right now. And you can also let me know if you've read any of the books that I picked up during my small adventure to the used bookstore, or if you've heard of them, or if you want to read them now that you've heard me talk about them, or if you'd like to chat with me somewhere other than YouTube. I am on a variety of different places on social media. The links to all of my profiles are linked in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I will see you in the next video. Bye.